This is the newest member of the BMW M family. It's the next generation of the beloved M2. And I feel like the smallest car in the family is usually the best one to go for. It's the most fun, it takes itself the least seriously, and just by looking at the outside of this car, I have a feeling that's gonna be the case. So in today's video, I wanted to introduce you to this M2, talk you through the exterior design, interior design, we'll go through the specs, and then I'll take it for a quick first impressions road test. I'll start on the exterior of the car, and there's quite a lot to talk about because it seems like the chief designer spent a bit of time playing Need for Speed Underground before he designed the body of this car. It's quite boxy, not a good thing, not a bad thing, it really just depends on how prejudiced you are towards boxes. I will say that when I saw the original photos of this car, I wasn't the biggest fan of it, but seeing it in person, it looks much better. Along the front of the car, all of these vents are functional. Nothing is really here simply for the purposes of looking good. One thing I wanted to point out, there's no screen to protect the intercooler from road debris, rocks, bugs, that sort of thing. And beyond that, it's not an empty floor either, so everything's gonna just be collecting inside of there. Not really sure if that's gonna be an issue, I guess we'll see with time, but just something I thought I should point out. I really like the side profile of this car. You've got 19-inch wheels at the front, 20-inch wheels at the back. This car is actually really wide, and you notice it more again in person. I don't feel like it's expressed that well in the pictures, but it's 1.9 inches wider than a standard 2 Series, which makes it actually just as wide as its bigger brother, the BMW M4. I did a video of one of those recently, so click the pop-out banner if you want to check that out. It's also a little bit taller and a little bit longer than a standard 2 Series. This specific car has the optional carbon fiber roof. It's not standard on the M2s. I think it's about $2,600 US, something around there, but it looks really good, especially against this white paint. Onto the interior of the M2, and there's really a lot to talk about, so I'm gonna try to break it out. First off, let's talk about the screen. So it's one continuous curved screen, and that's gonna have about 12.3 inches for your gauge cluster and 14.9 inches for your infotainment screen. And this infotainment screen has got a lot in it. So it's all broken out into apps, and I've actually counted it out, and this car has 29 apps for you to be able to control various things about the car. You've got your vehicle status, exterior and interior lighting, your driving settings, doors and windows. This specific car has an optional package that gives you the M Drift Analyzer. That's some computer system to tell you how good you are at drifting. So that's pretty cool. All of that stuff for you to be able to play around with, and it's all accessible through the multi-input system. So you can use your voice, you can use the touch screen on the infotainment screen, or you can use this little scrolling wheel right here. One thing that I'm not super excited about is that the climate control is all controlled through that touchscreen as well. There are no longer physical buttons in this car, but BMW has done a really good job of locking it at the bottom of the screen so you can access it extremely quickly to change your temperature, your fan speed, your heated seats, all of that. And then the volume for your infotainment is all controlled via this physical knob, which is great. Outside of that, seating position in this car, of course it's an M car, so it's fantastic. Everything is wrapped in leather. These are the standard M Sport seats. They feel really good, very supportive. In the video of the M4 that I did, it had the optional carbon buckets. Those were great with really exaggerated side bolsters. You can option those out in this car, but it is quite expensive. It comes in at $9,900, which is a lot of money, but it does give you more than just the carbon buckets. It gives you the carbon buckets, you get carbon fiber interior trim, it also comes with the carbon fiber roof, so you don't have to option that out separately, as well as a couple of other things. So if you put the car into the trip data mode and you look at this thing right here, it shows your car, which is pretty standard, right? Let's say you change things about the car, like you turn on the headlights turn. If you turn the steering wheel, the wheels in the animation will turn, and if you put the car into drive and start pulling away, the wheels change the animation to look as if they're moving as well. That's so cool. As far as the little details on this car, I love that BMW does this. I've said it in previous videos and I'll say it again. All of the stitching is the BMW M livery, so it's the red, blue, and slightly less blue. That goes on the stitching for the steering wheel, on this automatic gear lever as well. And on each of the doors, you have this cool M livery design. I actually thought it was the speakers. It's not, it's just a plastic piece, but nevertheless, it looks pretty cool. And of course, you also have it on the seat belts for the front and the seat belts for the rear, because this has rear seats. And I don't know if I would really call them rear seats. I would use them more for storage, but the seat belts back there also have the M livery. Let me talk you through some of the specs on this car, because that's really where this thing starts to stand out. The starting MSRP on the M2 is $62,200, and that's really not a lot of money, and you're gonna understand why I feel that way when I tell you about its engine. It's a 3-liter twin turbocharged straight 6, and it makes 453 brake horsepower, 406 pound-feet of torque. Now, drive goes exclusively to the rear wheels. In fact, the M2 currently is not offered with a competition package or with X-Drive, which makes it the only M car that comes exclusively as a rear-wheel drive. You do have 2 transmission options. You can get the standard 6-speed manual, or you can get the optional 8-speed automatic single clutch with a torque converter like this car has over here. Now, if you do get the automatic, 0 to 60 is done with in 3.9 seconds. Now, that is insanely fast for a car that costs so little. It's made even more impressive when you consider how much this thing weighs, because the M2 weighs 3,814 pounds, which makes it just 16 pounds lighter than a base model BMW M4, which has more power. And yet somehow the M2 is still 0.2 seconds faster from 0 to 60. That's pretty nuts. Now, M cars are not muscle cars. They're not about strictly straight line speed. They're great cars in a straight line, but they're also great on track. I haven't been able to find numbers on the Nürburgring time for the new M2, so if you do, let us know what it is in the comment section below. But the previous generation lapped the track around the same time as that generation Lamborghini Gallardo, and that's really impressive. So I can only imagine that this car is going to be insanely fast around that track. But now I want to take it out for a real quick first impressions road test. Oh, goodness gracious me. Yeah, so when you have the engine in Sport Plus mode, it is really eager to go. With this car, I feel like I can just drive the car and enjoy it. That to me is the benefit of driving these smaller, less expensive, but still great performing sports cars. You can focus on the actual task of driving the car. There aren't the distractions of price or the lack of self-esteem that you might have in whether or not you can control the power. With this car, I feel like for the most part, I'll be fine. Can I take it to its absolute limit and really take advantage of all of the performance that this car has to offer? Definitely not, but that's because me as a driver, I'm not that good of a driver. These M Sport seats that come standard with the car, they're fantastic. They're very supportive. There's not too much side bolstering that it makes it difficult to get in and out of, but there's just enough that when you are driving the car, you feel nice and snug. Actually, what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna change the steering to Sport, and I'll change the chassis to Sport Plus. And you do notice a difference, actually. You notice a pretty substantial difference. There you hear the transmission shifting down. I have it in Sport Plus mode, so it, like literally just the smallest little blip of the throttle, and it changes down to get you back into that ideal power band. I'm gonna switch everything now into comfort. I just wanna see, what does it change? Now everything is in either efficient mode or comfort mode, and it really dials the car back. It's much less quick to react to any input that you make, aside from steering, which obviously, as you can see, I'm not really testing, I'm moving in a straight line. But the brakes have a tiny bit more sponginess to them. The throttle response of the car has changed completely, and going over bumps has become more forgiving. Price point, really, really important. This car is not that expensive of a car to get, but you get a lot of performance. There's quite a lot of traffic right now, so I can't really test out the performance of the car, but it looks like the other side of the road is pretty clear, so I'll make a quick little U-turn and we'll see what it can do. Obviously, we're on public roads, so I will respect the speed limit. I will not break it in any way, shape, or form whatsoever. I will only be accelerating within the limitations of the law, as I should. But for that very responsible acceleration, I will put it back into Sport Plus for the chassis, for the engine. Steering will be Sport, and even though I will be doing the speed limit, I'd like my brakes to be in Sport mode as well. There we go, green light. I have switched the transmission into full manual mode just by hitting that lever over to the right. So here we go. Yeah, the throttle response on this car is ridiculous. Car feels very nimble. Transmission shifts down very, very quickly, and it's very responsive. I like this car a lot. It just drives better than the previous generation. It's a little bit more tactile. It's a little bit more responsive. I like it a lot. So I'm going to put it back into normal mode. We'll switch everything back over to comfort. So this is just in efficient mode, everything in comfort. Very different type of a response. The acceleration is completely different. It's like I'm driving two completely different cars. So it's not like I can just smash on it in all comfort settings and it's gonna react in the same way. It doesn't. It's much slower to react, and that's a good thing in my mind because it means that you can drive the car smoothly if you want to drive the car smoothly, and if you don't and you want to drive it hard, you have that option as well. All you have to do is change a couple of settings in the infotainment screen and you're driving a completely different car. It's a very drivable sports car, and at the end of the day, with all of these 600-700 horsepower cars that do 0 to 60 in 1 point nothing seconds, all of that stuff is great, but as a car enthusiast, I prefer cars like this. And again, that's just my opinion. I'm not saying it's better or worse than something else. It's just, for my money, if I'm looking for a sports car, I think the M2 is such a cool car to have. And really important that I didn't talk about when I was talking about the interior, I fit in this car. I've had a couple of people comment in previous videos asking me how tall I am. I'm 6'2", and I've got plenty of headroom, at least a couple of inches. That's not the case in a lot of sports cars, so it really limits what you can get, and I'm just really glad that I fit in the M2 because it's a car that I would very seriously consider getting. I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of growing to love this car, but that's all I have for this video. I wanna say a huge thank you to Sterling BMW. This is actually the first M2 that they got, and they were very gracious in loaning it to me to be able to do this video for you. So huge thank you to them. I will leave the regular links to their social media, their website, and the posting to this specific car, which is currently on sale. So if you're interested, definitely reach out to them. They have it in stock. Otherwise, leave me a comment below with your thoughts on the M2 and the video. What did you like? What did you not like? And I'll also pin a comment for you to let everybody know what's your favorite color of the new M2. Click the link in the description to get to the car configurator and pick your favorite one. Leave me a like and subscribe, hit the bell icon so you don't miss an upload. I try to upload at least once a week, but until the next video, thank you again for watching and do take care.